Capricorn, 10 spiritual insights that could change your year. There is a shift happening inside you right now, Capricorn, and it has nothing to do with the outside world. It is quieter than that, deeper than that. It is the kind of shift that does not announce itself with fireworks or grand revelations. It just settles into your awareness like the first light of dawn, slow and steady and impossible to ignore once you see it. You have always been a sign of structure, of ambition, of getting things done. But this year is asking you something different. It is asking you to look beyond the mountain you have been climbing and consider why you started climbing in the first place. These 10 spiritual insights are arriving in your life at exactly the right time. And if you are willing to receive them, they could change not just your year, but the entire direction of your remaining chapters. Insight 1. The first insight is this: your worth was never tied to your productivity. Read that again if you need to. Let it land somewhere deep. Because for most of your life, you have measured yourself by what you accomplished, by what you built, by what you contributed. And while those things are admirable, they are not the source of your value. You are not valuable because you are useful. You are valuable because you exist. This may sound simple, but for a Capricorn, it is one of the most radical truths you will ever encounter. You have spent decades equating rest with laziness, equating stillness with stagnation, equating slowing down with falling behind. But the spiritual truth that is trying to reach you this year is that your being matters more than your doing. Not because doing is unimportant, but because when your doing flows from a place of being, when your actions are rooted in self-worth rather than self-proof, everything changes. The quality of your work improves. The depth of your relationships deepens. The peace in your daily life expands. This insight alone, if you truly let it in, could restructure the way you approach every single day for the rest of your life. You do not have to earn the right to be here. You already belong. And the sooner you believe that, the sooner everything else begins to align in ways that effort alone could never achieve. Insight 2. The second insight is that the universe has been working behind the scenes on your behalf, even during the times when you felt completely alone. There were seasons in your life, perhaps long ones, when it seemed like nothing was moving in your favor. When every door was closed, every prayer unanswered, every effort met with silence. And during those times, you may have wondered if you had been forgotten, if the universe had moved on to someone else, if your time had simply passed. But here is what you could not see from inside those dark corridors. The universe was rearranging things, removing people who would have hindered your growth, closing paths that would have led you somewhere you did not truly want to go, strengthening you in ways that only isolation and challenge can provide. The delays were not denials. The silence was not absence. It was preparation. And now, standing on the other side of those difficult seasons, you can begin to see the pattern. You can begin to trace the invisible hand that was guiding you, even when you could not feel it. This insight is not about blind faith. It is about evidence. Look at your life. Look at the things that did not work out and notice what replaced them. Look at the people who left and notice who arrived. Look at the plans that fell apart and notice what was built in their place. The pattern is there. And once you see it, once you truly recognize that you were never abandoned, your entire relationship with uncertainty will change. You will stop fearing the unknown because you will finally understand that the unknown has always been working in your favor. Insight 3. The third insight is that forgiveness is not about the other person. It is about freeing yourself from the weight you were never meant to carry. Capricorn, you are strong. Perhaps too strong for your own good sometimes. You can carry burdens that would crush most people, and you carry them so quietly that no one even knows the load you are bearing. But there are certain things that were never yours to carry. The grudges, the old wounds, the memories of betrayal or disappointment that still flare up when you least expect them. Those are not protecting you. They are imprisoning you. And the spiritual insight arriving this year is that letting go of them is not weakness. It is the ultimate act of strength. Forgiveness does not mean what happened was acceptable. It does not mean you have to invite those people back into your life. It means you are choosing to put down the stone you have been carrying in your chest, the one that grows heavier with each passing year, and walk forward without it. This is hard for you because your memory is long and your sense of justice is deep. But justice and peace are not always the same thing. Sometimes peace requires you to release the need for justice entirely and trust that the universe will balance the scales in its own time, in its own way. You do not have to be the one who holds the weight of every wrong that was done to you. You can set it down. And when you do, you will discover that the energy you were using to hold those grudges, that energy is enormous, and it is about to become available for something far more beautiful. Insight 4. The fourth insight is that vulnerability is not a threat to your strength. It is the doorway to your deepest connections. You have built walls, Capricorn. Tall, sturdy, well-constructed walls. And they have served you. They protected you during times when openness would have been dangerous, when trust would have been foolish, when showing your true feelings would have given others ammunition to hurt you. But those walls, as useful as they once were, are now standing between you and the intimacy you crave. The spiritual truth pressing against your heart this year is that strength without softness becomes rigidity, and rigidity eventually cracks under its own weight. You do not have to tear all the walls down at once. That is not what this is about. It is about learning to build doors in those walls. Doors that you can open selectively, with people who have earned your trust, in moments when your heart is ready. Because the connections you long for, the ones that go beyond surface-level conversation and polite distance, those connections require you to be seen. Really seen. Not just the composed, capable version of you that the world knows, but the uncertain, tender, sometimes frightened version that lives underneath all that composure. That is the version of you that people need to meet if they are ever going to love you fully. And you deserve to be loved fully, Capricorn. You have earned it. Not through your accomplishments or your discipline, but simply by being who you are. If what you're hearing feels accurate, imagine what could happen if you applied this energy intentionally for 21 consecutive days. That's exactly what the 21-day program in the pinned comment is built for. Daily guidance, focused direction, and real momentum. If you're tired of staying in the same cycle, this is your structure. Insight 5. The fifth insight is that your intuition has been growing stronger, and it is time to trust it more than your logic. This might be uncomfortable for you to hear, because you have always relied on facts, on evidence, on careful analysis. And those tools have served you well. But there is another intelligence at work in your life, one that does not operate through reason but through feeling, through knowing, through that quiet inner voice that whispers before the mind has finished calculating. You have felt it before. Moments when you just knew something was right or wrong before you could explain why. Moments when your body told you to walk away from a situation, even though everything on paper looked fine. Moments when a decision made no logical sense but felt deeply, undeniably correct. That is your intuition. And this year it is growing stronger than ever. The spiritual energy surrounding Capricorn right now is amplifying your inner knowing, sharpening your ability to sense what cannot be seen, expanding your awareness beyond the five senses into something more subtle, more ancient, more reliable than any spreadsheet or strategy could ever be. This does not mean you should abandon logic entirely. It means you should let your intuition lead and let your logic follow. Let the feeling come first and then use your mind to map the practical steps. When you combine these two forms of intelligence, when you marry the wisdom of the heart with the precision of the mind, you become unstoppable. Not in a forceful way but in a flowing way. Like water that always finds its path. Insight 6. The sixth insight is that solitude is not loneliness. It is a sacred space where your soul speaks most clearly. You have always needed more time alone than most people understand. It is not that you dislike people. It is that you need space to hear yourself think, to process your experiences, to reconnect with the part of you that exists beyond roles and responsibilities and obligations. And this year, that need for solitude is intensifying, not because something is wrong, but because something is very right. Your soul is trying to tell you something important, something that can only be heard in the silence. The world is loud, Capricorn. It is full of opinions and noise and constant stimulation. And in the middle of all that noise, your deeper truth gets drowned out. But when you step away, when you give yourself permission to be alone without guilt, without the feeling that you should be doing something more productive, that is when the real insights arrive. That is when the answers you have been seeking reveal themselves, not through effort but through receptivity. This year, honor your solitude. Protect it. Treat it as the sacred practice it truly is. Because the clarity that emerges from those quiet moments is going to guide you through decisions that your mind alone cannot navigate. Your soul knows things that your personality does not. And it has been waiting patiently for you to get still enough to listen. Insight 7. The seventh insight is that gratitude is not just a nice idea. It is a force that literally reshapes your reality. You have heard people talk about gratitude before, perhaps so often that the word has lost some of its power. But this is not about writing lists or repeating affirmations. This is about a fundamental shift in perception that changes the way energy moves through your life. When you focus on what you lack, your energy contracts. Your vision narrows. You begin to see scarcity everywhere, even in the midst of abundance. But when you shift your attention to what you have, to what is already working, to the blessings that are so constant you have stopped noticing them, something remarkable happens. Your energy expands. Your creativity returns. Opportunities that were always there suddenly become visible. This is not wishful thinking. This is spiritual physics. The lens through which you view your life determines what you are able to see. And for Capricorn, a sign that naturally gravitates toward what needs to be fixed, what needs to be improved, what is not yet good enough. The practice of gratitude is revolutionary. It does not replace your ambition. It fuels it from a different source. Instead of climbing the mountain out of dissatisfaction, you climb it out of appreciation. Instead of working harder because you feel behind, you work joyfully because you recognize how far you have already come. That shift in motivation changes everything. It changes the quality of your effort, the energy you bring to your relationships, and the way you experience each day. Gratitude is not passive. It is one of the most powerful active forces in the spiritual universe, and it is waiting for you to wield it. Some people watch, others transform. If you want to be in the second group, the 21-day guide in the pinned comment gives you a clear step-by-step process aligned with your sign. This isn't about waiting, it's about moving. Insight 8. The 8th insight is that your past does not define your future, unless you keep giving it permission to do so. You have a long memory, Capricorn. You remember the failures, the mistakes, the moments when you fell short of your own standards. And while that memory has served you in some ways, helping you avoid repeating errors, it has also imprisoned you in other ways. It has created invisible ceilings above your head, boundaries drawn from old experiences that no longer apply to who you are today. The person who made those mistakes is not the person sitting here right now. You have grown. You have learned. You have changed in ways that are so profound that the old version of you would hardly recognize the current one. And yet, you still carry the old stories. You still let them whisper their limitations into your ear when you are about to take a bold step forward. This year, the spiritual insight pressing against your consciousness is that you are free to write a new story. Not by denying the past, but by acknowledging that it has served its purpose and releasing it from the position of authority it has held over your decisions. Your future is not a continuation of your past. It is a creation, and you are the creator. Every morning, you wake up with the power to choose differently, to think differently, to respond differently. The past provided the lessons. The present provides the canvas. And the future? The future is wide open, waiting for you to paint it with the colors of who you have become, not who you used to be. Insight 9. The 9th insight is that every person who enters your life is a mirror, reflecting back to you the parts of yourself you most need to see. This can be uncomfortable, especially for a sign that prefers to look outward rather than inward, that would rather analyze the world than examine its own reflection. But the spiritual truth is inescapable. The people who trigger you the most are showing you your own unhealed wounds. The people who inspire you the most are showing you your own unrealized potential. And the people who love you the most are showing you what you are capable of receiving when you finally allow it. This insight changes everything about how you relate to others. It transforms conflict from a battle into a lesson. It transforms admiration from comparison into aspiration. It transforms love from something you have to earn into something you learn to accept. This year, pay attention to your reactions. When someone frustrates you, ask yourself what part of you is being touched. When someone moves you, ask yourself what dream they are awakening. When someone disappoints you, ask yourself what expectation you were carrying that was never theirs to fulfill. These are not easy questions, but they are the ones that lead to the deepest growth. And you, Capricorn, are ready for that depth. You have done the surface-level work. You have mastered the external world. Now it is time to turn that same discipline, that same dedication, that same relentless commitment to excellence inward. The inner landscape is where your greatest treasures are buried, and the mirrors around you are pointing the way. Insight 10. The 10th and final insight is perhaps the most important of all. You are not running out of time. You are arriving exactly when you are supposed to. There is a fear that lives inside many Capricorn hearts, a quiet, persistent fear that the clock is ticking, that the best years have passed, that the window for certain dreams has closed. But this fear is a lie. It is a shadow cast by the same culture that tells you to measure your life in productivity and milestones. The spiritual truth is far more generous. Your life is not a race with a finish line. It is a journey with infinite depth. And the stage you are entering now, the stage that comes after the striving, after the proving, after the relentless climbing, this is the stage where the deepest magic happens. This is where wisdom meets action, where patience meets purpose, where everything you have learned and endured and survived becomes the foundation for something extraordinary. You are not too old. You are not too late. You are not behind. You are exactly where you need to be, with exactly the tools you need, at exactly the right moment in your spiritual evolution. The universe does not operate on human timelines. It operates on readiness. And you, Capricorn, are ready. More ready than you know. More prepared than you feel. More capable than you believe. The year ahead is not about catching up. It is about stepping into the fullness of who you have always been. The fullness you were too busy building to notice. But you can notice it now. And when you do, when you finally see yourself clearly, without the filters of self-doubt and self-criticism and the endless measuring against some impossible standard, you will understand that this moment right here, right now is not the end of anything. It is the beginning of the most meaningful chapter you have ever lived. Trust that. Trust yourself. And let this year be the one where you finally stop climbing towards something and start standing in the truth of what you have already become. You have two options after this video. Close it and hope things shift, or decide that the next 21 days will be different. If you choose the second, the structured 21-day transformation aligned with your sign is waiting in the pinned comment. The energy is already moving, the only question is whether you are.